Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
All right, cool, guys. Welcome back to Breaking Barriers. I'm excited. Today with us, we have my guy, John, here. And John, so in our research that my team did, what I love that you said, outside of obviously, you're a business coach, do consulting. I'm sure, again, you're a father, you're a husband. You have a lot of great stuff that you do. But what I love the most in our research that my team and I did was that when you were 43, you made a career out of being you.
Yeah.
and have been doing that. And again, I don't know how updated your profile is on your website, but it said in your 48 now. Is that accurate?
I'm actually 51. I should probably update that. Yeah.
So because you've been working on being you for quite a few times, quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And additionally, outside of that, one of the things that we saw too was that you had testicular cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we're gonna go through a couple of these things. But one of the things that I love though too that your father did for you is you said that your father got you a Brian Tracy psychology book, right? And I'm a huge Brian Tracy guy.
Yeah,
love
huge.
Brian Tracy. Great guy, great visionary, great thought leader. So for people out there that are listening in right now that are like, okay, who is John? Can you kind of give a high level of just your background and you and all that great stuff?
I'll give a quick gist so we can maybe dive into questions. I don't want to bore anybody. I'm a business coach. I work with solopreneurs to Fortune companies, C-level execs, leaders, managers, salespeople. And I work with people who are successful and stuck. I get them unstuck. And I love what I do. I can see and hear things that people miss that are hidden in plain sight to me. I don't take for granted a gift I have to hear things, sense things, use my sixth sense, and just really use it and provide tools for people to really help them grow immediately. Everything I do is very custom to the person. There's no template, anything that I do. Even keynotes I customize to the groups specifically. So that's what I do. My background, quick story, I'll give it very quickly. When I was 23, I started an internet company with my brother and a buddy. I led the sales and kind of all the business planning, COO type stuff. We sold that company 2 years later to the largest internet professional service firm in the world. I was a partner in that company. Once that was over, I got into commercial real estate. I sold apartment buildings in the state of Michigan. I was the top conventional guy in my office. I got bored after 6 years, I had the opportunity to move into management, managed my office, and took over August 4th of 2008. The market crashed in September. My office was flattened. Long story short, I grew that over 6 years to be one of the most profitable in the company, national regional trainer on the CEO advisory committee. Just very ingrained in the company. But after about 6 years of that, I got restless and bored. I wanted to start my own business. My coaching company that I wanted to start since I was 18, ended up going in-house to help a buddy of mine restructure his 50-year-old real estate company alongside with him. Did that over the course of a year and then started my business 8 years ago.
Wow. So serial entrepreneur to say the least, right?
I guess, yeah.
You get bored in one thing, boom, pop into the next one.
Boom, boom. Right.
Now, that's cool. And what was your biggest take? What would you tell yourself, knowing everything you know right now?
Yeah.
If you were to go back to that exit, right? What would you do the same thing you did at that moment? Would you have waited a little bit longer? Like,
no.
What would you have done differently?
Nothing. I mean, we were young and we were naive when we were going through that. And it was like a wild, wild time. The internet was very new, all of the building of what was. And so everything was in real time. It's not like we had never been through any of that. Our parents had never been through that. People that we hired to even help us didn't even know. They were giving us advice we didn't even listen to because intuitively we knew they were wrong. So when we sold our company, we had a lot of people tell us, don't do it. It'll be the biggest mistake. That we actually hired to consult with us, and they would have been flat out wrong. And so we, thanked them, paid them, and said, okay, We're selling our company. So if there's some lessons to extract from it, I would say, and in the same respect, I would have had business coaches sooner, right? I know I'm a business coach and I'm not self-promoting myself, but I had business I have, and I always have had business coaches, but I didn't out of college. I had mentors. I didn't have a coach. And so they would have probably given me better advice than the attorneys and the accountants and this, because coaches are more intuitive. They're not just looking at the black and white. And so you want to surround yourself with people who can give you intuitive advice. But that being said, you got to listen to your gut. Because only you know your business better than anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Definitely couldn't agree more with that. What made you say that you wanted to coach, right? And I asked that question because I feel like online now there's so many different people.
What was the question?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just what was the question?
Okay. What made you want to become a coach?
Oh, I got you. Okay. So when I was 18, my dad gave me a set of tape sets by Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Success. And I put it on my ears, and he says to me, Jonathan, I think you'll learn more from these people than you will college. And I put it on my ears, my Walkman, right? My headset, Walkman, whatchamacallit. And it was, John, transformational. It was transformational because it resonated to me on such a deep level, almost like a highly intuitive business, spiritual, almost past life feel. It like I understood it where school scholastically had always been a struggle for me, right? It was just like I was good at math. I didn't understand, why am I learning algebra and trigonometry and calculus? This is nothing to do with what I'm going to do in my life. Accounting made no sense to me when I knew I'd always have an accountant. You know what I mean? It didn't even make any sense. And so and it was just hard. School was hard. I would study and I just couldn't ever really do that great. I mean, I ended up double majoring in journalism and economics. I don't even know. Some days I look back, I don't even know how I got through it. It was so hard for me. But these tapes were easy. This I could understand. And I thought, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to do what Brian Tracy does. I want to write books. I want to speak. I want to help people grow. I want to break things down to the simple, because I always looked at things I could always break things down to the simple, and I understood simple. So I never understood why people were making things so complicated all the time.
Right.
So that's how I got into it. And that's how I knew. And so from the day my dad gave me those tapes, I never stopped listening, reading, watching, studying, ever. I did it every day. I've done it every day since.
I love that. Consistency and repetition, right?
Yeah. I mean, and now it's so easy because I'm an auditory learner. So, when the tapes with but now with podcasts and Audible, and I mean, I'm learning a ton, I mean, this year, I think I've read, on Audible, like 50 books so far, so
wow.
And that include the podcasts and the seminars and there's just so many things to do online. It's amazing.
It's a wealth of knowledge and a resource, right? Compared to what it used to be. What would be one thing, and I think this is the common question we get a lot when it comes to just like coaching and coaches and stuff, because we find ourselves right now, and it's not just about coaching. I mean, everybody is now let's call it the expert, right? Online, right? So like on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. In your experience, of coaching and doing what you do, what would you say if you had to tie it down to 3 characteristics, right? Because on your website, you scale, you have businesses scale very big, right?
Yeah.
Which is attractive to most companies or entrepreneurs who want that, right? What would you say are 3 character traits that most of the people who are at the helm, aka the entrepreneurs or the CEOs or the founders, need to possess, right, in order to be able to scale something to be very big or to be at that level?
100%. So a couple of things. They need to be coachable, number one.
Hmm.
They need to be coachable. No coach, no matter how good you are, if you're working with somebody who's uncoachable, it just doesn't work. So they've got to be
Right.
coachable and surrender to being vulnerable, right? And surrender to being vulnerable. And the people, like, for example, the people that I coach all fall into this. They surrender because they know they're stuck, but they don't know how to get unstuck. And it's a very small pebble of a stuck, but it feels like a boulder to them. And
Right.
so they need to just have the feeling that they're stuck and know that they want better. So you have to be
Mm.
coachable, a little bit vulnerable, know they want better, and then you got to do the work, because the
Right.
work is hard. And so you got to be ready to do the work, because once you get the information of how you can do better and evolve and grow, then you got to actually implement it, and you got to execute it, and you got to stay
Right.
consistent. So a lot of my clients, for example, the clients work with me 15 minutes a week or 30 minutes a week or 30 minutes every other week, because the shelf life is short as far as how you get the information, you're able to then implement and execute, and then you come back and you get the next piece, right? So people know, okay, this is what I need to do right now. This is what I need to do next. Okay. And then I have my next coaching call, for example, with John. So I'll know what to do my next now, my next. And then there's built-in deadlines.
Right. Right. Those are
Yeah.
three good ones. I really like that. What has been one of the biggest things that you've learned? It seems like your father clearly was somebody, or is somebody, who is, wanting to set you up for success, has a great head on
Yeah.
his shoulders. To think about giving you Brian Tracy tapes, geez, like
Yeah.
that's like what I want to do for my son, right? I have a 6-month-old right now, our first
Oh,
child.
that's
Um,
yeah.
oh yeah, it's literally everything to me. So like that's the stuff that I'm going to do. So like I
Sure.
love hearing that. What would you say is the biggest takeaway you've had from your father?
It's interesting. There's so many, but I can bring you very real time with that. So my son is home from college. My kids are 17 and 20. It goes by in 2 seconds. So enjoy all the moments. He's home for the summer, and his internship is with me this summer. And his
Ah,
internship is every day he has 3 hours worth of work to do that is basically all custom to him, on meditating, journaling, videos, courses, all of these things he needs to do to better himself, because I believe that what I'm giving him, and I don't say this arrogantly, is better than any business school could
right,
provide him, because it's
right.
not theory, it's actually real stuff that he can put in a simple way. And so what that spurred was something that I've wanted to do since I started my business. My business is solopreneurs to Fortune companies, and I
Right,
work with, the group I said earlier. But the group I
right,
really don't work with are college students and kids right out of college. And
right.
so I'm starting a branch of my business that only focuses on college kids and post-college kids. And it's going to be a
Right.
private coaching community with I have a business partner with it, and we're bringing everything that they need to know for business, for life, and growing their personal brand. So whether
Mm.
they're working for somebody or whether they're working within a company, we will teach them, and we're going to have online live coaching courses for different of the subgroups and the core group. On a regular basis, it's going to be a community that is going to take this group, which I don't think anybody is really doing to the extent that we're thinking about doing it. So we have
Right.
partnered, and we have such synergy, and we have so many um, amazing things that we're going to bring to the community. And so that's a way to kind of teach what I don't believe, and what my business partner, David, doesn't believe, is taught in the classroom. There's
Mm.
too much theory. People come out of medical school, they come out of law school, they come out of college having really no clue how to start a business, build their brand. They don't even know
Right.
how to mail a letter, or they don't know anything about mortgages or tax. They don't know anything
Right.
about corporate taxes. They don't know anything about how to build a business plan, what a business is, how to grow your brand, how to talk to executives. They don't know this, how to ask for a raise. There's all of these things. And if you don't learn them in 18, the group is only for 18 to 28-year-olds. We may extend it to 30-year-olds. But this community is specifically for that, to get them ready to really kick ass in their life.
I love that. That's so powerful, man. And I can tell you right now, financial literacy, especially in general, is so terrible throughout most households, none less school
Right.
systems, because we're taught to be good employees in school and stuff. But like the
Right.
thing the thing is that I believe, again, like, my upbringing, I have two amazing parents. My dad had some, financial struggles growing up, and and I'm the oldest of five, and I found myself from that situation in high school, 17 years old, figuring out how I could help my parents, not lose the house.
Correct.
And that's how my business, Adapting Social, started when I was
Yeah.
17. And like, I remember, like, when I first started, like, to build the business, like, I never had a credit card. Nobody told me, like, hey, get a credit card. It'll start building your credit, do little things, pay it
Correct.
off, whatever.
Right.
Like,
Put a
just
subscription. Put a $9
yeah,
subscription for from the time you're 16, 17, 18 years old till you're 28. Don't even touch the credit card. Have it on auto pay. You're
right.
building your credit. Correct.
Right. And so, like, you don't learn that in most households, right?
Right.
Or again, and people around you. So I love that. I love that thought process, because again, like I was saying, like, when I was starting my business, I didn't know that stuff. And when I met my wife, and at that point I had my business already operating and stuff for a couple of years. And, she was like, do you have a credit card? And I was
Yeah.
like, no. I was like, everything you got to pay cash. You got to pay cash.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, cash doesn't give you good credit. And
Correct.
it's little things like that, that
It's
people don't teach you typically.
correct, but big things. This is my business, johndwoskin.com, is everything we've talked about. But
Right.
this product that I'm talking about right now is launching after Labor Day 2023. And I really believe that it's going to be big, because the community that we're going to build are
Yeah.
all hungry, driven people. Like, how old are you?
I'm 31.
You're 31. So you could probably be in the group if you wanted to too. But my point is, it's going to be these young, driven people who need tools that nobody is giving to them. Nobody's
Right.
giving to them. And I don't believe, and this isn't a knock against teachers. I think teachers are the greatest people on earth. They give so much of themselves. But the community of teachers and universities are not teaching these types of skills. I don't see it happening. And
I
so
agree.
we're actually going to hopefully be partnering with some universities for them to send some of their students into this group, because it's going to be economical to join, and it's going to be filled with so much content every single month that people are never going to want to leave.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that, John. It's incredible.
So
I want
to answer your question, though, it is driven by the legacy of my father, who passed away about 7 years ago.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
God bless him. And honestly, one of the things, though, that I see on here, that my team pulled up, that I really, really enjoyed. Let me see if I can find this again. Where did it go? Let's see. You had I think I lost it. It was a good quote you had on your site. But anyway, let's shift. If it comes back up, I'll grab it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
so we have a couple minutes left, and one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, you had cancer,
Yeah.
right? And I want to talk to you about, just, again, we're talking about psychology. We're talking about, like, going through really difficult times, right?
Yeah.
Health, mental, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what was your game plan from the mental perspective, right, to keep yourself, motivated and to push
Yeah.
yourself through that? Because I know it's not easy. So did you have
Yeah.
a plan? Like,
Yeah.
walk us through that.
It was not easy. It was not easy, but my mindset went into overdrive. And so when I was going through when I was going through radiation, but I'll back you up a bit. The mindset I had was, when I had to get radiation, this is what I thought. I just had to back up for a second, because sometimes it takes me a second to get there. I
Yeah, no
remember
worries.
thinking, okay, I have testicular cancer, and if I have to get, if I of everything that I have two of, if I needed to get one thing removed, one testicle is probably better than one arm, one leg, one eye, or one ear, right? So that was kind of
Right.
my mind, especially when like sex and everything else is exactly the same, right? So
Right.
I never, so that's was kind of my mindset. Like, okay, okay, I wouldn't have chosen it, but if I don't, I rather not go through life without an arm, right? So that was kind of my mindset. And then I had to have treatment, and then I had to have 17 radiation treatments. And the way I approached it was, the place where I got radiation was this beautiful place. And I treated it as if I was going to a spa. That's it. I treated it as if I was going to a spa. Anytime I got a CAT scan, I walked in, I closed my eyes, I went in, I went out, I walked out. I've never even seen a CAT scan, and I've had many because and when I would get my treatment, I would walk in, I'd close my eyes, and I would just kind of like give the radiation that they were giving me. You know, it's funny when I talk about it, I can smell it. I could throw up right now just talking about it because I can like smell it. But the mindset I had was I gave it a lot of love and a lot of appreciation for it helping me live a long life, and I would be absolutely fine. And that was it. That was it. And I got a lot of acupuncture and energy healing while I was going through treatment, so I could get my nervous system balanced and get everything out of my system that didn't need to be there. It was really hard, the post checkups for many years, the checkups, because once you've been through it, you don't want to go back. And so the
Right.
waiting for the results were the hardest part. And if I had to go back, I would have taken, I took like a quarter of a Xanax only one time, but I would have taken more to calm my nerves because it was so stressful, right? And I had babies
I can
and this and
imagine.
the
I can
other.
imagine.
So, and it was horrible, and it was horribly stressful waiting for those results. But I always would do my best to kind of ground myself in gratitude, right? And there's a lot of like I found it harder after I was done getting through it. It was harder once it was done because I had to kind of walk through strain. But mindset is everything. And it got me in many cases over a fear of death, and it got me into a mindset that there's nothing I can't do.
And that is so powerful, John. So I found the quote, and it kind of reminds me of this,
Yeah.
because you grounded yourself, and with
Right.
gratitude. But you have a quote on your site from Socrates that says, "The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new."
Correct.
Um, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And
I'm always
anyway,
thinking forward. I just want to say
yeah.
this too. I jumped into a new career. I got into commercial real estate, and I distracted myself to something that I was passionate about.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's so powerful, man. My hat is off to you. My
Oh,
proverbial hat is off
time.
to you. And I mean that because that's incredible to do that while you have children, and a family
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So I definitely give you a lot of respect there. All right, so we're getting to the end here, right? And we always end off our podcast with two difficult questions.
Yes.
Now, one is more difficult, one is a little less spicy. Which one would you like first?
Whatever you want. It's your show.
No, you got to pick. It's part of the game.
Oh, so what is it? Spicy or hard?
So it's either one's more difficult, one's less difficult.
We'll start with the more difficult.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So the character trait so I've been asking that question for 2 years, and there's only literally in 2 years over 100 plus podcasts, there's only been one person that said, give me the easier one first. So I love that. Very entrepreneurial.
You know what? In business, you got to do the hard stuff first.
You got to knock it out. I agree.
You got to knock it down. You got to get your toughest stuff done by 10 or 11 a.m.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So anyway, a lot of times when we think about legacy, John, a lot of times we find ourselves thinking about from where our feet are planted today and where we want to be, what we want to be remembered by, what we want to leave behind, right? So in this kind of like exercise, I like to reverse engineer the process, right? So we're at the end already. And what I would like to know, so given everything, you've done in your life and the people around you, your kids, your wife, your father, your family, everybody,
Yeah.
the one thing that's going to supersede both Johns here, right, is our gravestone, right? So if you were to write that, and I'm of course paraphrase, here for me,
Sure.
not direct, what would that say?
Well, first of all, it's a great question, and I'm a big fan. I just want to say this: you live your legacy every day, right? So it's not
Right.
like I don't think of my legacy as my tombstone. I think of my legacy in everything that I do every day, and the time I spend with my family and clients and friends and things of that nature. But if I had to look at my tombstone, really, I would just wanted to say, amazing husband, amazing dad, amazing friend, and an overall really kind human being.
Right to it. I like it. I love how you just knew it off the cuff too. That wasn't even difficult for you. I love it. You just knew
Yeah.
it off the cuff. Love that. And I
That was
like,
the hard question. What's the easy?
I know, right? Well, so, and then what I like though too, real quick, I don't want to pass the fact that you said you live your legacy every day. For people listening in there, that's really powerful, right? You live your legacy every day, and that's the thought process between waking up every day and being the best version of yourself you can be, because you don't know when your time is up, right? So,
Right.
I really, really love that you said that. Um, the last one we have here, which is the mild spice, is just, has there been a John original adage or quote that you've kind of manufactured throughout the years when you think about persistence or resilience or, just overcoming challenging times?
It's funny when I was in my commercial real estate business, and I was running my office. There were certain times I wanted to get something across, and I couldn't find the quote to say it. So I would make up a quote and just put anonymous, right? Like I would put it on the screen, but it was my quote. But I knew if I put my name on it, then people, it wouldn't resonate. So if you just put
Right.
anonymous,
Right.
that's what I would do. So I could kind of like echo my point. But I can't think of any kind of like Johnism. But even if I could, I'd rather share a quote that has had a huge impact on my life, which is
Okay.
Tony Robbins: success without fulfillment equals nothing.
Mm.
And to me, it's all about, going back to your original question, it's all about fulfillment. Like I didn't
Yeah.
just like get bored, boom, and then do something else. I followed fulfillments for myself. And when I wasn't fulfilled, I knew it was time to move on. Regardless if anybody understood it or how well I was doing in a profession, when it was time, it was time. And I knew, and I didn't care what anybody else understood. I just knew. And so that's what I would suggest to other people, that and it doesn't happen overnight, but move to find your fulfillment.
Dude, that is so powerful. That's a good one, guys. Listen, if you're listening in there, guys, and you're trying to figure out like why you hear most commonly that people who are ultra successful, right? Like whether it's monetarily or they meet the point of their goal in their professional career, and like these people are like super like not happy or just are depressed when they meet that goal. I think that's a big reason why, John, we see
Yeah.
most people be depressed when they hit their goals, because then they hit the goal that they thought that they wanted to hit, but it wasn't about fulfillment. It was about a career goal or a financial goal, which you don't get fulfillment out of fully. And I
Right.
think for me, I remember like I had a specific number when I was growing up where I was like, man, if I hit this number, like I grew up with having bad anxiety disorder. So, growing up, and I'm very holistic. So I wanted to push myself through it, understand it, and beat it myself. And so over the years, seeing things like that where, oh my God, like once I have this, financial measure, I'm going to help my family out, which I did. And then, okay, cool. Then I'll be able to do what I want to do financially and drive the car I want to drive and do whatever. And all that anxiety stuff will just go away. And I hit
Yeah.
all those numbers I wanted to hit early on, and nothing like that changed.
Yeah.
And so it made me realize really quickly that those things are really like a facade, right? Like they seem cool, but it's
Totally.
not. And your fulfillment should be the center focus.
Yeah.
And that's really, really impactful that you said that. So I really
I
appreciate it.
I don't know if you want to end, but if not, I'll share a quick story.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
I think I agree with you. It's like you get to a point when you're younger, you always think, oh, well, when I get to that car, when I get to this, I'll be I'll be so happy in this. And then once you can afford it, A, you don't even necessarily always want the things that you thought you wanted. And then B, when you get it, it's not fulfilling. I remember when I was 25, 25, 26, there was the Porsche Boxster had just come out, and I saw it in a magazine, and I thought, oh, this is kind of a cool car. I kind of want it. So and so I called the dealership, and they said, oh, it's a year and a half back order. It's a brand new car. And I called my dad. I was like, what do you think about this? And he was like, I think, get it. You earned it. You blah, blah, blah. So I ended up leasing it. So anyway, so they ended up calling me the next day and say, hey, crazy story. The guy who ordered the exact car you wanted backed out on it. If you want it, you can pick it up Thursday. Called my buddy Fish. I said, hey, can you teach me how to drink? Can you teach me how to drive a stick shift? So he taught me on his car. I picked the car up with my dad, got it in, drove it around this and the other, got home and felt probably worse. Right. And so it never, and then I ended up, it was such a hot car that, people would come up to me, and this one guy always came up to me and said, the day you want to get rid of it, let me know and I'll take over the lease. So after about a year, I was done with it. And I was like, it was like the middle of the winter. And I'm like, I'm paying a fortune for this car. So I said, hey, you want to take over the lease? And he took it over like the next day. But it taught me a huge lesson. It didn't make me any happier. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but it didn't make me any happier. It didn't fulfill me on any level. And I don't know. I just feel like your story, those stories, like have the financial goals when you're. Oh, I think it's always good to have financial goals, but don't be defined by the goal. And when you get to the goal, the material things you want, they'll probably adjust.
I agree. I think I heard this. I don't know if it's Steve Jobs that said it. Somebody said it, but it's like when you're chasing money versus chasing your passion, like you're always going to be chasing money for the rest of your life.
Correct.
Where when you're chasing a passion and you get really into it and you get like so good at it, then money's going to start chasing you, and you're going to be passionate about what you do,
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to say though, I don't know your take on this, but like I am a big believer in like, I've heard this so many times and it makes me cringe. But people say things like, when you do what you love, you never have to work a day in your life. And I'm the opposite. I don't subscribe to that. I feel like when you do what you love, you have to work at it. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be sugar.
Yes.
You're going to have to fight for it,
Yes.
And these kids these days, like, again, we have a pretty big internship program here at Adapting Social and at one of my other companies. And like, the thing is though, is that like, you see these college kids coming out of college and their thought process is like, hey, I want to come out of college. I want to make $100,000 a year when I'm 17 years old or 20 years old, whatever the hell it is. And I want to do little work. And like, I want to love what I'm doing. And if it's too stressful, it's not for me. I'm going to move on to the next thing and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, guys, listen, like to really love what you do, like sometimes don't let the stress barrier. And if you're listening to this and you're a Gen Z or, a younger millennial, like, I think that's so important. And the only thing I can only give experience based off my journey to speak to this. But like for me, when I was 17, I was door knocking in the middle of the winter in New York, New Jersey area, freezing cold. Like, and it took forever. I gave everything away pretty much for free to build trust and to build credibility. And like, that's the thing that I think that gets missed now is that like, and at those moments, did I love what I was doing out there? Hell no. But I knew I was fighting for something. I knew I was looking forward. Like Socrates said, right? I'm building forward and I'm not looking at the past. And I just think that needs to be really instilled. And it's sad because a lot of times, like we shared earlier, like financial literacy stuff is not put into families' homes and stuff. But like neither is business acumen. In some cases, love is not in most families' homes, right? Which is really sad. So, if you're listening to this, I think it's really important you think about that. Again, if you love what you do, don't run away from something you love because it's hard. Like those are things you fight for. Because either way, I freaking heard this from the CEO of Home Depot. And I loved it. He goes, do you know what a gazelle and a lion have in common?
What?
They both have to wake up every day and run their asses off.
Yeah.
And one is running because they are running for their lives, the gazelle. The other is running because it's hungry and it needs to eat to survive.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I'm a big lion. I love lions. And when I saw that, I was like, wow. I heard that. When I heard that, I was like, wow. So what that means, basically, what I said before this is that if you run away from what you love because it's a lot of work, you're going to be working harder and hate what you're doing.
Yeah.
Versus working hard still, being stressed out, and working towards something that you absolutely love. It's like either way, the output of effort and energy is going to be similar, but it's a matter of what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So I like to bring that up.
No, I think it's great. I think it's great. You know, there's a scene in the movie A League of Their Own when Tom Hanks says to Gina Davis's character, and she says she's quitting because it's just too hard. And she loves it. She's the star baseball player, and she said it's just too hard. And he says it's the hard that makes it great. And to your point, you know, I love what I do. I love everything about what I do, but it's still a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you got to put in the work. And some of the younger generations that I talk to don't want to put in the extra work, and they only want 40 hours, and they want balance, and they want this. There's no such thing as balance the first 2, 3, 4 years of anything that you do, because it's just going to be a little bit out of whack. And you can have balance, but with balance, you know, this is what I always sometimes we'll talk to younger generations about. You can have balance right now, and now is the time, if you're right out of college, to try to have that balance.
Right.
But in a couple of years, when you get married, if you get married, and if you have children, it's a very expensive path. No matter how modest you live.
Totally.
And so right now in your 20s is the time to really hustle. It's the time to hustle, because in your 30s you're hustling, but the 20s, like when you have no responsibilities, that's the time you want to be putting in the time, putting in the hustle, building your network, building your knowledge. You know, they say your 20s are for learning and your 30s are for earning. But if you're not learning enough in your 20s, you're not going to earn typically what you want in your 30s. So you really got to look at the landscape there.
I love that. This has been so amazing. John, you've been so insightful. I'm really grateful for your time here. I'm a big believer that time is the one asset that we don't get back. So you spending it here with us today means the absolute world to me and my followers and listeners here. Where can people engage with you, John? Your website, socials, you know, all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, I'm a business coach, and you can reach me on my cell, 248-535-7796. Shoot me a text or call me. I'll get back to you. I return. Unless I'm sleeping, I return every call, text, email, same day for anybody who calls me and my clients. And you can go to johndwoskin.com and learn all about me, get to my social, my podcast. Did you sign up for my podcast yet?
I have not yet.
Oh, you got to get on my podcast. I'll stay on after and I'll give you the link.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So johndwoskin.com.
Thank you, John. Grateful. Everybody listening in. Again, a lot of great golden nuggets were dropped here. So again, if you're out there, if you're in the car or if you're working out, definitely replay this, get some notes down. John has been so insightful here. So John, thank you again. And again, your time is very appreciated here.
Appreciate you. Grateful for you. Grateful for all the listeners. Thanks so much.